Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be working on the scale garage I started building last winter. It's designed to be roughly 1/24th to 1/25th scale, so it's the perfect size to fit smaller scale RC models into. I used scrap pieces of 1/2" MDF for the walls and floor, which I glued together and used several 3D printed brackets for additional support. Prior to building, I came up with a basic plan and used CAD software to build a simple model of how I wanted the shop to look. Once satisfied with the design, I cut out all the pieces accordingly, assembled them, and painted. The only things I've added so far is a large commercial garage door on the side with an industrial pedestrian door beside it, and a standard single car garage door on the back wall. I also added this multicolor LED light strip under the balcony walkway. I don't really have any specific plans or goals for this garage, it's just a fun project and will be a cool place to take some photos in. The first thing I wanted to do was add some interior office doors and windows to the second story walkway. I printed out these frames using black PLA plastic, which looked good as is, but for added detail I wanted to sand and paint these pieces. I started out by sanding the entire surface with 320 grit sandpaper to remove any large imperfections. Along with all the office doors and windows, I printed out these doors which I will use on the ground level. The garage door was a bit warped, so I used a hairdryer to heat up the plastic and bent it so that it would be straight. After straightening it out, I sanded the surface just like I did with the other doors. I also wanted to paint this 2-post lift. My extruder multiplier was set a bit too high when printing the posts, so I wanted to use a file to sand the surface smooth. After just a few minutes with a file, the layers quickly became smooth. After sanding all the pieces, I mixed up some XTC 3D and applied one light coat to all the parts. After the coating dried, I once again sanded the surface of all the parts. Once all the parts were sanded smooth, I taped all the parts to some cardboard for painting. For some parts of the lift, I just wanted to do a bit of filing before painting them. I accidentally applied primer a bit too thick in spots on the posts, so I lightly sanded them with some 600 grit sandpaper to make them smooth before applying paint. In between spraying coats, I hand painted a few parts of the lift. Once finished painting, I noticed that some parts no longer fit well together because of the paint adding thickness. So I had to do some light sanding and use a generous amount of grease to be able to get everything moving smoothly. I'm very pleased with how this lift turned out. The only thing I might want to change is using a black or gray grease instead of the white lithium grease. The white lithium grease does a great job of lubricating the moving parts, but I think a black colored grease would look better than a white one. Once all the doors were painted, I was ready to add some more detail to them. As you can see here, the 3D printed layers are still quite visible, so in hindsight, a little more XDC 3D would have been a good idea. I printed out some images I found that I wanted to place behind. I started by tracing around the door and windows and cut the image to the correct size. I did the same thing with some thin, transparent plastic. I also added a white, semi-transparent film to the clear plastic. When everything was cut, I glued everything to the back. I repeated the same process for all the doors and windows. Finally, I added a bit of chrome paint to all the doorknobs and handles. I also wanted to paint flat black between all the garage door panels. I used a bit of masking tape on either side and used a brush to apply the paint. The result from doing this by hand turned out to be a bit sloppy, so I think I'll be redoing this at some point. Here's the progress so far. To me, some stuff looks a tad bit out of scale, so I might try experimenting a bit with different sizes to see what looks best. But so far, I'm liking the general layout. This is my first attempt at building anything like this, so any suggestions or ideas would be great. I also have a bunch of scale accessories, tools, and other stuff I've been collecting for a while, which I'll be adding to the shop as well. That is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and let me know what you want to see added to the scale shop in a future video. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.